It was one of those busy days on the city bus. People in a rush, heads down, headphones in, nobody really paying attention to people around them. The hum of conversations, the soft growl of the engine, and the periodic beeping of phones greeted them as a familiar urban soundtrack. But amidst these passengers, there was a young boy, not more than 13 years old, who sat quiet, observing his surroundings, taking in the world with curious eyes. He wasn't like most kids his age. He was considerate of the people surrounding him, probably because it had been instilled in him through his parents. His mom always said to him, "It doesn't cost anything to be kind." And that simple phrase remained in his mind each day. At the next stop of the bus, doors whooshed the cool air inside. A woman stepped on the bus. She was different from the other passengers. There was something about her. Her belly folded outward, and she grasped her bag just a little bit tighter as her gaze coursed over the crowded bus. Her face wore an aspect quieted by exhaustion, an exhaustion that only comes from carrying not just physical weight, but the emotional weight of life's many challenges. She looked around, hoping someone would offer their seat, but everyone seemed too engrossed in their phones or too deep in their own world to notice. The boy noticed. Without a second thought, he stood up. "You can have my seat, ma'am," he said, looking up at her and smiling. His voice was soft yet clear, rising above the hum of the bus. He stepped aside, gesturing for her to take a seat. The woman, surprised by the gesture, stopped for a moment. How this all happened is without much incidence in the world today, especially in cities that hurry along the time. Her eyes softened and a smile of gratitude appeared. "Thank you so much," she said, as she lowered herself slowly into the seat, relief washing over her. The boy shrugged nonchalantly, just like it was no big deal, and clutched one of the metal poles for balance as the bus resumed its journey. He didn't have to do it. I'm sorry, no, scratch that. He wanted to do it. That was just the kind of guy he was, raised by parents always instilling into him the need to look out for others, especially in those in dire need. The boy stood quietly, lost to his thoughts, as the bus rattled down the road. He had expected nothing in return. He was not seeking praise or attention. To him, giving up his seat was all he could do. The woman, with her seat taken, could not stop looking at him. There was a shade of someone that he reminded her of, someone she had never really thought of for a long period of time. Her hands instinctively flew to her tummy, and instantly, her eyes began to mist. The bus continued to stop and pick up a few more people, but the crowd had considerably thinned out. The woman, however, was still aboard, seated and looking sideways at the boy. Something troubled her mind, something that refused to go away. Finally, as the bus neared her destination, she rummaged through her bag and retrieved a small folded piece of paper. When the bus lurched to a stop, the woman slowly rose from her seat, still clenching the note in her hand. She began to make her way toward the door, pausing beside the boy. "I want you to have this," she said softly, her voice quavering just a little. The boy stared at her, perplexed. Thanks," he said, not quite sure how to take it. He continued to watch as she handed him the folded note before stepping off the bus. Its door shut behind her, and the bus started to move once more, but the boy was still staring at the paper in his hand. Curious about what happens next, stay tuned and get ready for the unexpected. Curiosity finally got the better of him, and he unfolded the note and smoothed out the creases. At first, his eyes had scanned the words without processing what was written. Then, with each read of the note, his heart began to skip a beat. The message itself was simple, yet profoundly resonating. "You have no idea how much this small act of kindness means to me. I am going through a very bad time, and your generosity has reminded me that still there are good people in this world. Thanks for being one of them," she said. The boy blinked hard, rereading the words as a lump began to develop in his throat. It was just a seat, right? Just some minor action. But as the note finally began to sink into him, he realized he had done something that was actually deep to another human being, even though it was so insignificant in the big picture. The bus went on its route, but he continued glancing at the note, falling deep into thought. But just as he was about to fold it up and pocket it, a final sentence scrawled at the bottom of the paper caught his eye. "My son died a few months ago. He was about your age. You remind me of him. Thoughtful and kind. I just wanted you to know that what you did today, it mattered more than you'll ever know." The boy froze. He read that line again. Once more, he felt the weight of those words upon him, heavier than could have been imagined. And to this woman, who had lost her son, in him was found a reminder of goodness still existing in the world. The tears that had been welling up in his eyes finally spilled over, and he quickly wiped them away, hopefully with no one on the bus noticing. It wasn't about the seat anymore. It was about connection, the potential that one moment could have on affecting one's life. Was that an act of small kindness? I'm sorry. I mean, maybe it was something much, much bigger than that. Maybe this was the act that reminded her to hold on. The rest of the ride on the bus went in one big blur. With one of the newly free seats available, he sat down, the note still clutched tightly in his hand. He stared out of the window, watching the city go by, but his mind was far away. And he sat there, staring out the window as the world outside blurred while his thoughts sharpened. Strange, wasn't it? Not strange. Deep, he amended. How one simple gesture could carry such weight. How many people carrying their own burdens, their own pain masked by everyday smiles, might be sitting right on this bus? What if everyone took the time to look up and actually notice? It wasn't about the great and sweeping gestures or monumental changes, but those small, almost invisible acts of consideration and kindness that may turn a person's whole day around, or even someone's lifetime. This instant, this bus ride, would always be there with him. Not because of this seat that he had given, but because it taught him about humanity, empathy, and invisible threads that attach all of us together. He thought about the woman, about her son, and about how life sometimes gathers people together in the most unforeseen way. He imagined just how easy it was for people to become expendable, how quickly one can just pass others by and never look back, not knowing the battles being fought. And then he realized that each and every person on that bus, throughout this city, throughout the world, held some sort of story. Some were filled with joy, some with pain, but somehow they were all linked together. When the boy got off at his stop, he did not go directly home. He walked for a while, enjoying the cool, refreshing air cleansing his mind. He replayed all that had happened throughout the day in his mind over and over again, with the weight of the note in his pocket. It wasn't just a piece of paper. It was that kindness, no matter the size, could ripple through the world in ways we perhaps may never truly know. As the afternoon wore on, the sun began to set glowing golden hue casting over the city. The boy took his way back home, but he was not the same anymore. He carried with him a deeper sense of the world, the people in it, and the power a single act of kindness had. From then on, he vowed to always keep an eye open for how he might make someone else's day a bit brighter, no matter how small the gesture, because sometimes that is all that is needed to change a life. No act of kindness has to be major, nor does it need to be fancy. Sometimes all it takes is giving up your seat to a soul in need. That small act, as poignantly revealed today, ripples forward into touching lives in ways that we may never even fathom. So next time one gets the opportunity to help someone, even in the smallest of ways, remember, one might make a much larger difference than they will ever know. If you liked this heart-touching story, then like, subscribe, and share it with everybody. You never know who may need to be reminded today that somewhere in this world, someone cares. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next video. Until then, be kind to each other, my friends.